Well, with the Rugby World Cup, still visible in the rearview mirror and the European Champions Cup looming large on the horizon, it might be forgivable to overlook games of this weekend in round 6 fixtures of the Guinnes Pro 14, but certainly not this one tonight at Thomond Park. A fully loaded Irish interprovincial derby match at Thomond Park is certainly worthy of our full attention. Munster and Ulster have in the main recalled their heavy hitters, and now with squads swollen by the returning internationals, the season takes on a new dynamic. Both these sides have won 4 of their 5 matches so far, with the solitary defeat in both cases coming in the early rounds in Bloemfontein when the Cheetahs were in rampant early season form. Munster's 4 wins in Conference B, enough to see them atop of the table, a point clear of Edinburgh, who last night dispatched the Dragons. Ulster, meanwhile, are second in Conference A, now 10 points behind Leinster, who last night thumped Connacht down in Galway. Ulster's failure to pick up a try bonus point in the last 2 wins, perhaps a source of some disappointment to Dan McFarlane, particularly last week at home to Zebre. Here they come, led out by Rob Herring, a changing of the guard in many respects in Ulster rugby over the last few weeks. The head coach Dan McFarlane making 7 changes from last week's 22-7 win over Zebre in Belfast. Jordy Murphy making his return from Ireland World Cup duty to the open side flank, with Nick Timoney now moving to number 8, and Marcel Coetzee not involved ahead of next week's trip to Bath at the Rec. Rob Herring, as we saw, captains this side, with Ian Henderson still an absentee. Huge night for 21-year-old Angus Curtis, who makes his first Ulster start at fly half and his first start of the season. Jacob Stockdale also back in harness, and Matt Fallis at full-back. Plenty of big names back for Munster tonight, and none bigger and more important than the talismanic figure of Peter O'Mahony, who leads out the men in red. 12 changes, in fact, for Munster from last week's win over Cardiff at the Arms Park, with no fewer than 8 Ireland internationals returning to the matchday 23. 5 of those in what is a very strong forward pack: Scannell, Ryan, Klein, O'Mahony and Stander, no less. Albie Mathewson and JJ Hanrahan keeping their places in the half-backs, and Andrew Conway and Chris Farrell coming back in after their World Cup commitments. Conor Murray, as we know, is on the bench. Liam Coombs, by the way, makes just his 2nd senior start on the left wing. Frank Murphy has been involved in a few tasty encounters at Thomond Park in Limerick over the last 18 months or so, and he is the man in charge this evening. Grey, heavy skies over Limerick tonight. We've had quite a few squally heavy showers pre-game, but at the moment it is dry and we are set fair. Munster back at Thomond Park for the first time in 6 or 7 weeks, really. That round 1 game against the Dragons when they opened the campaign in impressive fashion. Ulster coming here after back-to-back home wins. JJ Hanrahan, who keeps his place at fly half, gets us underway at Thomond Park for this 2nd Irish interprovincial derby match of the weekend. Any thoughts of Darren Cave and Peter Stringer very shortly, as we look at John Cooney taking control of the situation. The Ulster scrum half thumps one down into the Munster half of the pitch, watched all the way by Haley. Will we see a lot of ball in hand from this Munster team? Very interesting to keep an eye on what they're doing in terms of trying to elevate their backline play this season. Albie Mathewson quickly involved. His contract, of course, expires officially at the end of the month. They've extended it a few times. I'm not sure they'll get to do that again, but we will see the outcome of that. Here he is again. He was excellent last week, scored 2 tries at the Arms Park. Chris Klucher, the South African open side, who's been in try scoring form, but that was ripped clear. I think it was Angus Curtis in there on top of it, and that's thumped down into the Munster 22. A little bit of rear guard action required here from Mike Haley, and he's under pressure from Rob Little and bundled into touch on that near side. A frantic opening 70 seconds or so.
Yeah, very frantic. Good start by Munster, looking to spread the ball wide, showing some intent. I think, obviously physically up front they got to set a platform. We're looking for this new style of play that Munster has spoken about in terms of offloading, but again, the basics on a night like tonight, you're going to have to get those in place and looking after those balls in the wide channels.
All right, player safety, lads. Let's have a look.
It was interesting. It was the rip from Angus Curtis. It was Stuart McCluskey in there, and a little bit of attention required initially for Jack McGrath back here, just being checked by Frank Murphy.
And I think Ulster might have been lucky enough to get away with that. It actually looked like the tackle might have been completed before the ball was ripped away. But anyway, as it spilled loose, it was a great... McCluskey did very well to get that kick away, get that space in behind, and a great follow-up chase. And, you know, now a tough place for Munster to exit from.
Just a little bit of strapping to the right hand of Jack McGrath. Won the last of his 56 Ireland caps away at England in August. That forgettable game at Twickenham, 57 points to 15. The less said about that, the better. But it's been a good start to the campaign for Ulster and Dan McFarland. They won blood on the copybook. That defeat that I mentioned in Bloemfontein against the Cheetahs, who were in scintillating early season form. And what a boost it will be to have the likes of John Ryan and John Klein and Peter O'Mahony back into the fold. A lot of responsibility, of course, on the shoulders of Rob Herring. A flying visit, really, to the World Cup in Japan, wasn't it? He got called in advance of that quarter-final against New Zealand, then didn't make the matchday squad of 23, called up for Sean Cronin. But here are Ulster in Munster territory inside the opening 2 minutes of the game, looking to hit their targets, and they go all the way beyond the 15 to that man, the battering ram of Stuart McCluskey. And they're up to 10 metres shy of that Munster line. They've gone behind so many times in interprovincial matches in recent history. They were down 14 points and down 17 twice in recent games. And they're looking to start here, Munster, or Ulster rather, on the front foot, and they'll have a penalty.
Rock was forward initially. You were the first man.
Yeah, Ulster going over the top of the line out and going to their big ball carrier McCluskey, who's seen how much of a threat he is in recent times. And, you know, real strength of the game, and Ulster obviously playing the conditions, keeping it tight, and Munster coming up with the error, and you know, it looks like gifting Ulster 3 points here.
Yeah, we said at the top of the show how Ulster's ability to generate momentum. When Ian Henderson's not playing and Marcel Coetzee, they have to play a slightly different way, and what they do is they use Stuart McCluskey, and so a very strange line-out option there to do in opposition 22, but straight over the top, and what a fantastic carry. Stuart McCluskey hasn't played a load of rugby so far this year, so if he can have a big performance tonight, it'll put Ulster in a good place.
.48 points already this season. He's been kicking exceptionally well, virtually metronomic from the kicking tee so far this campaign for John Cooney, and he passes the 50 points mark in the Pro 14 for the season, and more importantly in the context of tonight, he gets Ulster off to a brilliant start. They lead by 3 points to nil inside the opening 4 minutes here. A real nerve settler for the visiting team, who we must recall at some point were turned over in horrible fashion this time last year. Round 5, I think it was, they shipped 9 tries and 60+ points. Not quite a revenge mission, but they'll be looking to restore some pride in terms of their standing here at Thomond Park, and they've set about it early doors pretty well.
Yeah, great exit from John Cooney. You know, this guy is a key player for Ulster. This half-back kind of pairing is quite new, but John Cooney in particular from that boot, you know, from the penalty and then from the exit, they want to relieve that pressure, put the pressure back on Munster.
Scannell now looking for O'Mahony, and it's quick ball from Peter O'Mahony to Mathewson, and right into midfield they go. Typically robust carry, and here come Munster again with that strong work from McCluskey and others. Sean Reedy going in there as well. Mathewson has it, and O'Mahony picked off though by Luke Marshall, man of the match last week at the Arms Park against the Blues. And here's Cooney, just had a little look to see where the Munster wingers were, and he just overcooked that by a yard. Good idea though.
It was a great read from Luke Marshall there, wasn't it? And we've seen a lot of early line speed from Ulster. I think we're going to see it from both sides tonight. It's very greasy out there. It's hard. It's going to be hard to handle the ball. So I think we're going to see a lot of line speed from both teams, and a lot of smart kicking.
Stay in your front, Max.
There's evidence of that greasy ball for Niall Scannell. Started the game against Russia in Kobe, and then
The hooker is correct. I've asked you
he
to be
came
on
on
the
as
front line. Can you move off,
a
please?
replacement
You move
flanker in
forward.
the first game
Thank
against
you.
Scotland, didn't he?
No, he doesn't.
What's the call here? Will they go to Klein? Lots of movement in there. It's O'Mahony is the target. And here's the Munster ball. Scannell has it. Mathewson has a little look to see what's available outside. Rory Scannell is the option, and now JJ Hanrahan, who's been very good this season with ball in hand. He's been given a little bit more licence, or so it seems at least. There's a big upright collision, strong challenge. Carter going in, very robust second row. Now there's a Ulster player not getting himself out of the way. I think it was Alan O'Connor, at least Frank Murphy suggested so.
Not rolling. Not rolling. No more. Oh, we take it. 5.
Yeah, positive play from a Munster perspective. Notice kind of different guys stepping in first receiver. You know, JJ Henry, and he's out of play. You got Chris Farrell stepping in there. You got Mike Haley on other times. I think it's just it's an area that Munster are trying to progress with their game and take that attention away from 10.
Make sure you don't go front of the mark now, please.
Change that point of contact and change personnel. Just keep teams guessing. So an early insight into how we see Munster going forward. Again, the basics are so important. Getting that set piece right, and close quarter carries, and making sure they hold on to those balls.
Make sure you keep them there now, okay? Went forward last time.
Surely penalty taking Munster into Ulster 22 territory for the first time this evening. Just a little bit, it seemed, outside the radar of JJ Hanrahan or indeed Rory Scannell, although we have seen him kick penalties here from the halfway line and beyond.
Move forward again, you will be sanctioned, yes.
All the way over the top, and they look for the same move, and it's picked up by Rory Scannell. Taste of their own medicine there for Ulster. That's a really good hit going in from Sam Carter on John Klein. Taken on here by CJ Stander. Topped the carry stats at the Rugby World Cup. Virtual ever-present from an Ireland point of view. Taken on by Cronin. Good to see him back in harnessing, getting a run of games with all his injury troubles down the years. John Klein takes it on. That's loose for Mathewson. Pretty vocal in there, Darren, isn't it? Both sides really up for it. Good to see.
Yeah, Jack McGrath's getting fairly fired up there. I think he's about to get a word from Frank Murphy. But yeah, Ulster are getting a bit.
I can't hear you like that again. Not in that manner. Happens
Yeah,
again, you will be
get a bit
sanctioned,
overexcited there. It was a good defensive set from Ulster. Interesting to see. I said just before that it was quite a different method of attack to use in that area of the pitch that Ulster did, and then straight away we see it.
Very common.
We see it straight away from Munster. So teams with matching playbooks.
Time is on, lads.
No, that Ulster line speed is very, very impressive. I think you can see the aggression, the intent that they're bringing, getting off the line with some real line speed, and putting Munster under serious pressure. And you know, again, Munster, you're looking for that gain line, that momentum to get over that gain line, get the opposition on the back foot. But Ulster, no credit to them, getting off that line and getting in Munster's faces.
18.
First appearance for the season for Marty Moore, closest to us, up against James Cronin. Two heavily stocked front rows, two very unstable front rows down in a heap.
Two of you, lads. Keep it like that for me, please. We have to go the other side.
James Cronin came back in for the opening game of the season here against the Dragons. That was his first game in 10 or 11 months, I think it was.
You happy enough?
He made his 100th Munster appearance against tonight's opponents, Ulster, in April 2018 here, and he was man of the match on that occasion.
Crouch! Bind! Set! Positive, stay one.
That's a good Ulster scrummage. Really good, really strong from the pack of forwards. There's another big energy booster, and again there's lots of verbals and vocals, and a little bit more than that.
Back you up. was going across. Yes.
It was against James Cronin, I think, wasn't it? And dispatched really well by Cooney. It's been a good start from Ulster.
Yeah, great start. You know, again, that front row battle we spoke about beforehand, you know, setting that platform, and Ulster kind of coming up trumps on that occasion, and you know, very good exit from Cooney again. And just these moments where Munster getting into Ulster's 22 but not coming away with points.
They tried to work a short one to the front there. There's a Munster hand in there which gives Ulster a knock-on advantage.
Still advantage on the knock-on, lads.
Cooney, as ever, composed and controlling things, and he's gone the aerial route. And watched all the way by Liam Coombs, who was then hit pretty hard for his troubles. Mathewson, Cluta. Prize of offside from the stands around us. That's a little bit loose and sloppy. Just took an extra second for Mathewson, but he got it away to Hanrahan. Stockdale retreating right to the doorstep of the Ulster 22, and he tried to drill that low, and it's been followed here by Conway. He's so good at those situations. Got his kick away. Faddis has to be very careful indeed. He's going to be square in the in-goal area, and that's a great result for Ulster.
Ulster looked like they could have been offside a couple of times in midfield there, and ultimately it was a poor kick here from Jacob Stockdale. You could see what he was trying to do, and then actually very smart from Conway to nudge that ball in there through, and yeah, great follow-up chase.
Well, they'll have a scrum 5 here, Munster in the perfect attacking position.
Yes, let's go, please. Patience. Stay square. Okay. Don't go at the hooker. Crouch. Bind. Sit.
Straight down on this near side, in particular that little flashpoint between Cronin and Marty Moore.
I shouldn't let it continue, okay? You're pre-gauging that. Can you keep the space for me? Point to set. Everybody, yes? Yes? Thank you. Yeah, no problem.
It is a little bit soft and cutting up underfoot. It's a bit early in the game for that, though.
Keep the space, boys. Crouch! 8. Bind! Set! Too much movement.
Yeah, not very stable in there at all. Munster free kick, and
scrum down.
Something for Frank Murphy to get a hold on. 3 or 4 scrums inside the opening 13 minutes, and they haven't really been that stable at all.
That's just stability, right? Right? That's a free kick. You know what the next one is. That doesn't give you any liberty. You stay square. Stability. Crouch! Bind! Sit! Yes.
So here we go again. This time it is a good deal more stable, and it's quickly at the feet of CJ Stander as Mathewson waits. What'll be the option here? Will it be Scannell? It is indeed Rory Scannell. He's got Farrell just inside. Another real heavy ball carrier. Good option. Mathewson, 3 tries already this season, and he had a little bit of a look there on CJ Stander. Now can they drive him over? He's got it down, and CJ Stander scores the first try of the evening, and Munster hit back, having fallen behind, with a try on 14 minutes.
Yeah, really well worked, solid scrum on that occasion, and off the base to Scannell. It was just that little bit of momentum that Munster were looking for, winning that gain line and getting Ulster on that back foot, and that caused that quick ball. Matheson had a little snipe himself. Like you said, he's been successful on 3 occasions already this season, but again, that power, that pod coming around the corner, 3 guys carrying him over, it was just too close and too powerful.
And it looked like Stander's momentum was gone, but his ability just to get those legs pumping and go again, and he had a bit of help getting over the line, but he ended up having about 4 Ulster men over the line with him. Incredible ability to generate momentum from a standing start.
Yes, because you've got some big bodies in there in Ulster shirts. Sean Reedy was right in front of them, Sam Carter too, but as Darren said, they just got that wedge going and driving CJ Stander over for a typically robust CJ Stander try. Coombs it is underneath the restart. And hammers one down this near touchline. Washed all the way by Faddis. Coombs got up well to make his tackle. Jordy Murphy in at scrum half, gets it away to Jack McGrath. 2 former Leinstermen combining. Here's another one of them, Cooney.
No, he's not. Leave the ball now.
I think Billy Holland's taking a bang on the head there in that counter ruck. Cooney waits and he gets protection from Reedy. Little on this near side. That one's hanging a long time in the air. And so too was good hang time from Mike Healy. Well, that's a tiny bit loose, but watched all the way by Hanran, who gets it into Holland. None the worse for wear, I'm glad to say. And here's O'Mahony. We've seen a good deal of it in the opening 16 minutes. That's good nuisance value from Sean Reedy, if nothing else, just making life very difficult for Munster back there. Klutze. That's another aerial bombardment. Coombs is underneath this one. Oh, he thought he had it, and then Little just accepted the gift of it as it bounced back his way. And it's a knock-on for Munster. No, it's a penalty. High tackle in the end.
And both teams at the minute actually looking more impressive without the ball. Seems like one of those games so far. Again, we saw some decent line speed from Ulster, but when Ulster had the ball, we saw it was quite slow ability. They looked like they were eventually just going to get turned over. Their ability to generate momentum and get quick ball, it just wasn't happening from. And they had to go to the air from that box kick.
Ulster not looking to play much rugby really in the Munster half, or in their own half at least, and putting those high kicks up and chasing, getting that good line speed, and I suppose making Munster play out of their own 22, which, you know, Munster have come up with a few errors in that area, so you can see that tactics, I suppose, from an Ulster point of view.
Good delivery out of touch from Rob Herring, as it had to be in this position. Position A for Ulster to try and hit back after that standard try. Cooney waits. McCluskey. Munster were ready for him and set. Plenty of ballast in their own midfield duel. There's the outstretched arm of the referee indicating another penalty coming Ulster's way. Can they take advantage on the advantage? Alan O'Connor looking to puncture that defence, and away they go to Herring now, sizing up his opposite number, Scanlon. Standers over it.
You had a chance to get out, not straight away, then you could have gone. Stay there too long.
It's against Billy Holland.
12, rolling.
That's Rory Scanlon, in fact, for not rolling away. It's another great opportunity for Ulster.
Yeah, he did. No, he couldn't get the ball.
Johan van Graan won't be pleased with those errors that Munster are making, you know, backing them up, and, you know, poor kick from Matheson, and then the penalty, the high tackle, just giving Ulster those easy yards, and another shot at goal for Cooney.
I understand. Yeah, no, that was fair. I agree.
I just wondered, would Ulster have a kick to the corner there? Just that last maul, they got set up. It looked strong, it looked powerful, and I suppose when it's in around the 15, maybe it's smart just to take your 3. But I just wondered, would they have a look at it?
It certainly wasn't the quickest and clearest shot at goal call. They were having to think about it Right behind this one from John Cooney, and he struck it sweetly, full of conviction. No mistake whatsoever. So Ulster are back to within a point. It's 2 penalties from the boot of John Cooney. 7 points to 6 in the opening quarter of the game at Thomond Park has flown by. I think we can just nip across to the far side and have a quick word with Stephen Larkham, who's been good enough to take the time to talk to us. Stephen, what have you made of the opening 20 minutes of this one?
Well, a tight tussle, and I think the scoreboard reflects the stature of the game. So we've had a pretty good contest in defence from both teams, and then the breakdown has also been a bit of a battle for both teams. So some interesting decisions so far from the referee, but it's a tight game. It's those conditions where you've just got to persist with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as the game goes on how much both sides can develop their backline play, but it's your first taste of an Irish interprovincial derby, and it has to be one up front first, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the plan. That was certainly the plan coming in, and you know, we can see it even as play goes on now. There's a real confrontation with the forwards carries.
Stephen, good to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Right on halfway, and Mathewson. McCluskey making it difficult for the Munster scrum half. Cronin there, and Holland has a look at what's available. Funneling it out to Niall Scannell. Sam Carter, the Ulster number 5 in his gun sights here. Scannell with that left boot, which he can use so effectively. That's good covering from Little. He had to make up a lot of yardage to get back there. As it was, Liam Coombs didn't give him too much room, and he's not made a huge amount of ground.
It was great grass cover from Robbie Little. It was great kicking behind, but just watch him turn and burn here. Does really well to get that ball on the full, and then just a good follow-up chase from Munster, and unfortunately that angle, he just doesn't get the opportunity to get that long.
That's the advantage of having that left footer on the field. You've got it either side of the rocket kicker, JJ on one side, Scannell on the other side to pick those corners, and like you said, well covered by Ulster, but Munster now in a great attacking position.
Oh, they go all the way to the tail ambitiously, and now they pop it out into Mathewson, and then they look to hit up the big guys on that crash ball. Coming back inside now to O'Mahony, taking on McCluskey. Mathewson again. Munster in that Ulster 22, looking to add to the standard try, and here he is in possession. Mathewson this time to Billy Holland. And they're recycling quickly now. They just need to get a little bit of cohesion about their attack here. All Ulster players are over it, Jordy Murphy in particular. Farrell, not a lot of space out, is there? It's a little bit frantic. Marty Moore up quickly. There's that Ulster defensive line speed again. Cronin now, shoulder to the wheel. Good shoulder it is too. Through the tackle, kept working hard on the ground, made a couple of meters, hand-to-hand. Shipped that off to Clute, close quarters. Mathewson waits in the middle of the pitch. Now options both sides, and Ulster coming through. Real messy ball for Munster. Almost ripped clear. Haley into contact initially, and Ulster being working very hard in defence. Munster finding it difficult to get any real yardage here. They've been forced back 10 or 15, in fact. Mathewson now to Hanrahan, thought about the wraparound. Scannell kept ball in hand. 2 Ulster players there, but the penalty goes to Munster. You could hear Frank Murphy, he just said off their feet, but Ulster didn't heed the call.
And it was a shame because it was a really good defensive set leading up to then. Ulster looked really in control, that line speed, and it was something they'll have talked about during the week. Munster's always an incredibly physical fixture, particularly away from home. And if you can't match Munster physically or beat them physically, you're not going to compete in the game. And so far, Ulster have really fronted up really well, and just a disappointing end to that really impressive defensive set.
I think so. When you would have analysed Ulster over the years, a team that come really, really hard off the line and get in your face, and that line speed, you know, that 4-up defence that you're so renowned to seeing from an Ulster side, and Munster at times, you know, going backwards there, like you said, 10 metres on the back foot. At times you got to look for those corners. You know, it's not pretty at times, you know, kicking the ball away, but you got to find space. You got to kick to where the space is and change that momentum, because you know, Munster were on the back foot for a large part of that phase of play.
yeah, even when you're high up the field and the line speed's coming, there's not. I would agree. There's nothing wrong with. I mean, how you kick the ball. That's how to change teams and slow them down and manipulate that space in the behind. So you know that's what Munster need to look to do.
13 points against the Blues last week. He converted CJ Stander's try with no problems, and he's added 3 from the kicking tee from that penalty. JJ Hanrahan, and Munster just edged their lead out to 4 points, 25 minutes in, 10 points to 6, the home side lead. The former Young Player of the Year and the Golden Boot winner, of course, JJ Hanrahan in this competition. It's not a golden boot, but it's a lengthy left boot of Rory Scannell, which knocks it all the way to Faddis, deep inside that Ulster half of the pitch. Interesting to see, will he get a chance to show what he can do in space. Alan O'Connor. Good strong carry from the Ulster second row, and here's Jack McGrath looking to do the same when he runs into Sean Klein. Quick ball from Cooney. Curtis. Marshall funneled it wide. Stockdale having to work pretty hard to present the ball, but he did so effectively. Herring now under pressure from O'Mahony. Cooney. Curtis again. Oh, it's good, really good hands from O'Connor to Marty Moore. And under pressure, and then he dropped it. I think it was CJ Stander. That was unfortunate. A little half opening for Ulster.
Advantage over.
Knock on advantage over. It was Hanrahan into contact, and now Cronin. There's another advantage here, and I think it's against Jordy Murphy, the open side.
An important little steal there from CJ Stander. A lovely little tip on Marty Moore, driving those legs through contact.
JJ. On the mark as well, please. Start behind.
Ulster been on the edge all night with flirting with offside, trying to get that pressure on Munster, that line speed we've spoken about, and unfortunately for Ulster, Jordy Murphy just a step too excited there.
First appearance of the season. Good to see him back fit and healthy after his problems at the World Cup with that rib injury he picked up. 30 Ireland caps now.
Throw the ball, we won't have a walk. Let's form. Let's go, guys.
Shortened line out this from Munster. They
Stay back, stay back.
varied it nicely. Looks like O'Mahony is the target again. It was a good contest. Alan O'Connor making it life difficult for the Munster captain, but he got his hands on it. And that's a pretty robust maul defence from Ulster, but is there space out wide? And there is for Hanrahan. He accelerates into it. Coombs now up against Little. Hanrahan was hit pretty hard after delivering that pass, or as he pulled a hamstring, he stayed down in the middle of the pitch. It doesn't look good for the Munster fly half, but his team are on the attack here with Niall Scannell. Support coming in from Ryan and indeed from Billy Holland. Scannell gets the ball away to Klute. Mathewson quickly recycled. Good feet from Scannell, just a half a yard, taking him out of the contact area. CJ Stander couldn't get his hands free. Marty Moore making life difficult, trying to slow it down from an Ulster point of view. Taken on by Ryan. That's loose, and it's seized upon by Nick Timoney. And it's been knocked on a couple of times. First one from Red, though.
JJ Hanrahan's in trouble. Down again with that hamstring. A really, really good break on the outside. Lovely little play from Munster.
Time off.
From the maul. Tightened that Ulster defence up and then and moved it to the width, but this will be a blow for Munster.
Yeah, and those mauls can be very hard to attack from the 5-metre channel, so Stuart McCluskey just gets hauled a little bit narrow, and Luke Marshall drifts away and hangs him out to dry a wee bit. And saw a replay there, and Faddis having a bit of a, I don't know if it was late, but it was certainly questionable on Hanrahan, and the bit of a...
Fine, you're happy?
Crowd having a few words with Frank Murphy here. But a lovely bit of attack from Munster.
Time on. Come down.
Yeah, it looks as though they're going to have to make a change. JJ Hanrahan being withdrawn, and there's plenty of activity over on that Munster bench.
Yeah.
Tyler Blendall is getting ready.
Yeah.
That's very unfortunate for JJ Hanrahan.
Takes a substitution, number 22, Tyler Blendall replaces number 10, JJ Hanrahan.
So they'll be forced into making that switch, and while all that is happening, Peter O'Mahony's just having a conversation with Frank Murphy, the referee, about the legitimacy or otherwise of the hit on Hanrahan, but that wasn't the nature of the injury. It looks as though his hamstring is gone.
Let's keep that standard, please.
10 points to 6, half an hour gone. It's been a little bit scrappy. Typically interprovincial fare, really, given the conditions and the amount of changes on both sides. 12 from Munster, 7 from Ulster, remember.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Disappointing that the injury came just from the kind of break that we like to see from Hanrahan. Tyler Blendall in his place, of course, a very different kind of player. Well, that's an Ulster penalty. Second at scrum time for the visitors.
Scrums are definitely a bit messy, aren't they? Frank Murphy's doing his best. Former scrum half, no doubt he's having a bit of a guess. But we haven't had many clean scrums today. Couple of penalties and a couple of free kicks going either way.
Well, just about finding touch, but it's another good net result for Dan McFarland and Ulster, and for John Cooney, continuing to exit their own territory with a minimum of fuss when they can and try and play as much rugby in the Munster half of the field as possible. Better tempo about that line out from Herring. He just got on with things, and they go via Curtis to McCluskey in midfield. Cooney again now just inviting Jordy Murphy to hit the line flat. The open side did just that. Now Little, can he get those feet moving? He got away from Alvin Matheson, managed to keep the ball in the pitch. Cooney now under pressure from O'Mahony. That's good again from the Ulster scrum half. And there was a knock-on spotted in the middle of all that.
Scrappy attack, wasn't it, Peter? I mean, John Cooney won't be thanking his forwards for the delivery at the back of the rocks and off the top of the line out. Very hard, and you know, didn't get the gain line off the line out, and then the return play didn't work. It was all very laboured.
Yeah, we've seen from both sides that when you don't get that gain line, you don't get that momentum, how difficult it is, and particularly from a 9. They're both having a torrid time there with the breakdown, and it's really, really scrappy. Conditions playing a huge factor in that. Really, really greasy ball, and it just gives the defensive side that kind of impetus to get off the line, like we spoke about, when the rucks are slow. And like I said, Cooney is doing his best to manage this game. I think he's doing a really, really good job, you know, coming out of his own half, and his kicks have been really, really accurate, and he's looking to create something. But when you're on the back foot at times of that, it does become very, very tough.
Matheson waits. Again, there's plenty of movement in there, but it's with CJ Stander, who controls it well, and Munster in control of this particular scrimmage, having conceded a couple of penalties. They're going to get one on their own here. Matheson has a little bit of a look around the side. No advantage coming. Well, they've got one back at least. Great reaction from Niall Scanlon in the middle of all that, returning the verbals as well. There's great cohesion from the forwards. Just reward as the penalty now. Can they get every metre out of it? Well, they'll get down to the 22 anyway.
James Cornan had given away a couple of penalties in the Ulster 22, but really, really strong in that set piece. And Sean Reedy giving away the penalty, trying to help out Marty Moore on that tight head side.
Heading into those so-called championship minutes, 5 either side of half-time, it would be a perfect time to score, to stretch the lead if Munster can take advantage of their territorial position here. All the way to Standard toward the tail and around the corner to Mathewson, back inside cleverly from Blendall to Coombs. Quick ball required and received from Mathewson. This is promising from a Munster point of view. Is there to be a clinical edge about it, a ruthless edge to get a second try of the evening? They lead by 4 with 5 minutes to go in the half. Scannell, that's really good work by a couple of the loose forwards. Look like Reedy and Murphy combining for Ulster. Taken on by Klein. Mathewson has to dig a little bit to extrapolate that out as far as Scannell. Lining up the targets. Billy Holland there, O'Mahony too, it's Holland. Mathewson, call from Blendall, and that's really clever. Surely it's a try here. Ulster get back, and Scannell, did he get over? Could he grind it? Try is given. Rory Scannell gets the try, despite the best efforts of 2 or 3 Ulster defenders. Really clever work, a lovely switch play in midfield on the inside centre. 5 minutes before half-time, gets Munster's second try of the evening.
Yeah, good pressure from Munster, and it came from a line-out that used a similar play earlier on. Changed the point of contact, they went out the back. But again, it's that recycling, that quick ball that Matheson gets. Blantal, just a lovely little ball out the back, and lovely hands, and Farrell from Scannell just gets into the back. Yeah, beautiful little tip pass from Farrell. And thought Cooney had covered him, but great grounding from Scannell. Frank Murphy on site, couldn't be in a better position to call it.
Yeah, it was nice play from Munster. Great patience at the start, and then when they did go to the backs were loaded, they were organised, they were ready. Chris Farrell took that ball out the back. Lovely crisp transfer, as you said, Peter, and Scannell did well, just went low, let the greasy surface slide him over the line, and now Munster have an opportunity to get a 17-6, which would be very frustrating for Ulster, because they feel like they should be closer than that.
Oh, he struck that very well. It might need a little bit of a help from the upright. It didn't quite get it, so they don't quite get the 17-6, but it is 15 points to 6, 4 minutes to half-time. They've been pretty clinical when they find that cohesion in that 22. 2 very different tries. A real forwards try from Stander, and then that little bit of sleight of hand in the back line sees Rory Scannell dot down. This time Coombs switches back in field to Stander from the restart. Munster will be pretty happy with their half's work if they can see it out here. Mathewson didn't get that one right at all, so maybe there's something in this half still for Ulster from this kind of field position.
Yeah, you can see when Ulster's kickoffs, the Cooney, they're looking for Coombs on every kickoff he's regained, and hitting Stander up, and Matheson's kicking hasn't been that accurate coming out of the 22, so another opportunity for Ulster, and Munster will hopefully get into this half-time in the lead that they are at the moment and not give away more points.
Reedy switched it very quickly into midfield to McCluskey. A little bit of crossing in there, doesn't matter because they've knocked it on. O'Mahony gets it away, and Scannell lets that left boot do the work. Little all the way back there, huge chase led by Mathewson. Munster covering the ground very quickly. Oh, Cooney, that's risky, looking for a herring. Reedy was offering himself as an option. Cooney back in to try and control things, but Munster looking to drive over here. Initially it looked legal, but then not from...
You're not supporting your body weight in the way through. No. If you're going to counter, remain positive, please.
Penalty coming, so...
If you're going to counter, remain positive. Don't come in like that. what I just said, so you don't need to. Thank you.
A little bit symptomatic in many respects of Ulster's season so far. They've been excellent at times, but some of the diatribe coming from the Ulster camp suggested that they haven't really found a complete 80-minute performance yet. And they've played in fits and starts. Both sides have been guilty of coughing up fairly routine errors at times. Inside the final minute of the half, though, McCluskey with Marshall just outside. Oh, it's been turned over. They could be dangerous here. Munster now, Conway into the 22, asking the question. Oh, it's been fumbled into touch on that far side. Curtis couldn't take it, and Fannis is back there too.
Yeah, again, Ulster just haven't impressed me with ball in hand tonight. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is. Just not really getting great momentum. Anytime the ball comes back, it seems to be squirting out a lot, or we're getting sort of soft turnovers, whether it's getting reefed or the ball's just slipping out. But we look far better. Ulster look far better without the ball.
Yes, thank you. That's what I'm saying to them. That's fine.
A real comedy of errors back there from an Ulster point of view, but oh, that's a mistake though. That's a real let-off. Prime position for Scanlon. He couldn't hit. Miscommunication. It seemed like there was nobody really off the ground in a Munster shirt. Cooney, and they'll just get this off the pitch now, Ulster, and they'll reassess at half-time with Dan McFarlane and the coaching ticket as to what's gone wrong in that opening 40 minutes. They started pretty brightly. Got their noses in front with that John Cooney penalty inside the opening few minutes, but Munster have hit back in typical fashion with tries from CJ Stander and Rory Scannell later in the half, and it's the home side who lead at half-time at Thomond Park in Limerick on a scoreline of Munster 15, Ulster 6. Making 7 switches from their game against Zebra last week in Belfast, but that's kind of a lazy and simple excuse really at this level, Peter. You would expect better in a big game like this with Europe on the horizon next week. They need a little bit of momentum, and so far we've seen precious little of it.
Yeah, you would expect, you know, these big name players, like you said, Conor, coming back in and, you know, wanting to get back on the field and back to winning ways after a really disappointing couple of months. And yes, there's going to be moments where it's going to be a little bit stop-start, but hopefully the second half will click things together a small bit for them.
Getting us underway, the man who kicked those 2 penalties for Ulster in the opening 40 minutes, John Cooney, down into the Munster 22. Big half this for both sides in terms of momentum and getting a win on the board ahead of their European adventures next week. Munster away to the Ospreys, of course, and Ulster with a tricky trip. It's always tricky going to the Rec to play Bath. There's our first knock on comes after 25 seconds of the second half. Carried on there by the former Brumby Sam Carter, who's made a big impression with his physicality in that Ulster pack in the first 5 or 6 rounds of this competition. Cooney. Well watched by Billy Holland. Clute's over that. Munster are sensing a penalty.
Leave it back, leave it back.
Ulster will have it.
Okay, unplayable, white ball.
And they will have to put into the scrummage.
Yeah, there's just a knock on. Just unplayable.
I think Munster can consider themselves very unlucky there. Looked like the ball maybe come back on their side, and they're a bit unlucky not to get a penalty. And certainly looks like this second half, unfortunately for the neutral, may continue as we saw the first half. The ball again just not coming back cleanly for Ulster, allowing them to get into this game.
Well, he's very good, as we know, over the ball. Chris Clute, one of his real fortes. That low centre of gravity. He must have been very close to a turnover there.
18. Crouch! Bind! side in early. In early, far side. Pre-engage, lads. Yeah, okay.
And even at set piece and scrum time, it's pretty indicative of just those little, the nuisance value of the lack of stability and around the scrum even.
It's a long pause there from Frank Murphy on his engage, and these front rows just want to get engaged, want to get back into trying to win that battle.
Crouch! Bind! Set! Steady!
And it goes from Cooney. Ulster getting the shove on and they're going forward at a rate of knots, and they'll get the penalty, their third of the evening at scrum time.
They just got to go forward, back you go. Okay.
It's an interesting little subplot, this, isn't it?
Yeah, and it looked like Ulster just got one sort of step of momentum there, and then when it swung and when it broke up, the call ended up going their way.
Well, 9 points the margin. A real premium attached to the first score of the second 40 minutes here, and it's Ulster who have put themselves into territorially a very good position from which to find it. Munster coughed up a great opportunity in the dying embers of the first half over on the far side. Well, Niall Scannell just overthrew his jumpers. Can Herring find his targets here? Oh, look at it is. Peter O'Mahony up early at the front, steals it from Munster, and away they come with CJ Stander. Brilliant work again from the Munster captain. Great read. Gets his team off the hook, and Blendell completes the clearance.
Ulster seemed to throw it to Peter O'Mahony. He was in the air. It was really an early read from O'Mahony. They should really have changed that call, but again, you know, Ulster not really having too many opportunities in that Munster 22, and only 6 points to show. They really need to kind of come away with points every time they make a way into that 22.
This is the third or fourth time we've seen Ulster go to this sort of five-man line-out setup, and as I say that, they change their mind and go, oh no, and it is just back to a five-man line again, and they haven't had any joy out of the sort of following three phases, so we'll see what happens on this one.
And this time it's a two-handed take at the front from O'Mahony. Two in the space of a couple of minutes going against Ulster. Handing the entry points in the game back to Munster. All the advantage sucked out of it from an Ulster point of view.
Pushing into the player.
And it's back now with Mathewson. There's a little bit of a fracas off the ball between Marty Moore and Chris Klutze.
It's a knock on.
It's gone forward off Stockill. Here's Healy. Did well just to hold on to that. Coombs now for the little kick through. He's got it back brilliantly. Took it at pace, got beyond Rob Little. Luke Marshall is back there. Alarm bells ringing momentarily in that Ulster defence. From what was a good Munster break, inventive use of the boot. Mathewson to Scannell. Healy now just presses the accelerator, tries to get through a gap. Mathewson.
No!
Again, it's scrappy around the base of that ruck. Holland had to go and forage for it. John Ryan. Driven back by Cooney, and here's Scannell. Mathewson now. Healy runs into a couple of big units in Carter, and Marshall just ripped that clear. Faddis thumps it downfield. Inside that 5-metre channel, Blendell all the way back there. He's got a little bit of time. Little takes the aerial route, dropping just beyond the 10-metre line. Healy coming from a long way out, but Little gathers it for Ulster here. Cooney. Jack McGrath. Space out the back for Murphy here to accelerate into. Gets it away to McCluskey. Tackled by Conway. Again, it's gone forward. Well, that one was about pressure, but it's just not clean, it's not precise, or the execution is not good, really.
Yeah, from both sides again. You look at the line-out. Stuart McCluskey seems to be Ulster's best option in the line-out at the moment, and the best way of winning the ball. But again, we see a lovely kick pass from Haley. We spoke about that and mixing things up. How Munster get it to the wider channels in conditions like this, and you got to be brave. And Mike Haley, a guy who's had a really good start to the season for Munster. One of the really promising guys. Got a couple of tries, and you know, just about mixing that game, how to get around that 4-up defence from Ulster. The way Ulster is so good in that defensive line and putting Munster under pressure.
And it was a brave decision when you see that winger or that centre get in your eye line as a player, and you see the space over the top, and you think, should I throw it, should I kick it? It's very brave. It was a beautiful touch from Haley, and it just set up nicely. And probably some of the nicest attack we've seen today. And we could see what Stuart McCluskey was trying to do at the end there at the offload, and I was wishing that ball into Jacob Stockdale's hands, but unfortunately, maybe two hands would have been better that time.
So fitting Wycherley into the Munster second row for John Klein, who's
really important, you're patient in the setup.
Had a good 47 minutes back in harness.
Yeah, I expect to see, I suppose, Fineen Wycherley now and Jack O'Donoghue and the likes of Arna both coming off this Munster bench with that 6-2 split, and you know, really upping the pace and that momentum that Munster are looking for, that physicality.
Stay there. 9, play the ball.
Mathewson being urged to play it by Frank Murphy. The two front rows are down. Scannell has it. Kick is the option. Fat is back there. No problems on this occasion. What will the counter be? Just dinks one over the top. Mathewson read it well. Gets it away to Bland. Ali gets beyond the first challenge. He was looking to step in off his left and get beyond McCluskey there. Lost his footing. And that's from where the penalty comes, really.
Okay. Steele was fair. 22 on the ground.
Looked like it might have been Stuart McCluskey on the jacket there on the poach.
Yeah, he just loses his footing, and his support can't get to him quickly enough. And you know, Munster were lined up for a bit of a wider attack, but again, you just got to resource those breakdowns, those wide positions, and look after that ball, and knowing how much of a threat Ulster are over the ball.
And you mentioned earlier, Peter, Munster really are getting a lot of change out of Scannell on that left foot, aren't they? He really gives that ball a good thump. It's the low trajectory as well. It's very hard for Ulster. The ball's not in the air for as long, so they're trying to cover that grass, and that low trajectory, quick through the air. It's a real weapon for Munster.
Again, like you said, you're looking for that grass, and you know, obviously Fala's covered it really well and caught it on the full, and now they're in a great attacking position again and looking to build on that 6-point score.
Well, once is excusable, twice is a problem, 3 is inexcusable. They can't afford to turn over 3 times in a row at a touch, and Rob Herring knows that. He's got to hit his targets here. He's got to keep it away from O'Mahony. He finds Carter. Good clean take, and now Herring in control now as they rumble around the corner. Oh, the gap appears, and Herring is straight through. And there's a little bit of redemption in that for the Ulster hooker. They turned over the ball a couple of times out of touch just prior to that, but Rob Herring gets over for Ulster's try, and now they're right back in this game at Thomond Park.
Rob Herring just timed that break out of the maul perfectly. It looked like Ulster, first of all, great line out, and just as the maul moved midfield, it looked like it was just starting to lose momentum and spin to the side, and it's always a bit of a risk to break away, but he took that risk, and great leg drive, and gets nice and low, and fair play to him for finishing it.
Really good finish. He just pumped those legs, eyes only for the line. Great finish.
Similar we saw on Ronan Kelleher last night for Leinster against Connacht, but again, like Darren said, that timing, just that breakaway, you don't want to isolate yourself, but it's just reading that momentum, reading that shift in the maul, and he judged it perfectly.
Second of the season in the Pro 14 for Rob Herring, having scored against the Kings. And the conversion is good from Cooney. And Ulster find themselves back to within 2 points of Munster.
Converted by John Cooney. Munster 15, Ulster 13.
Yeah, lovely from Herring, but again it stemmed from that exit from Munster, just not as accurate as they would have liked, and giving the Ulster the ball back, and then that turnover in the wide channel, and Ulster just really, from one set piece, just crossed that line, just really far too easy from a Munster perspective.
Yes, it's been a game 51 minutes in of teams punishing mistakes really more than anything.
Use inside, yeah.
Cooney hoists one and asks the question of the Munster fullback Healy, and he's been good under that aerial threat tonight. Mathewson, Wycherley now. Running into Alan O'Connor. Here's Clute available. So too Scannell, and so too O'Mahony. Made it rather easy for Cooney. That's a good kick. Stockdale in chase here. Healy has to be very careful. I don't think he realised how quick Stockdale had got up on top of him. Ulster in over the top of the ball. Where's that coming back? It's on the Munster side with Mathewson, but only just. He was a tad casual there, Mike Healy. John Ryan. Mathewson waits. And Munster exit, but still inside their own 22.
And the game's changed a lot now in this last 10 minutes. It wasn't long ago I was thinking Munster halfway to a bonus point here, and another score from Munster, and that's actually the game finished. Then, a bit of shift in momentum, a try from Ulster, and now, Ulster in a great position to go on and kick on and nip in front here.
Tom O'Toole in the tight end side of that front row in for Marty Moore, whose first game of the season lasts 53 minutes. Yes, but it feels like a crucial time in the game. There's going to be a raft of changes in the next 5 or 6 minutes, you would imagine, and
We'll have a few substitutions here, lads.
Ulster find themselves for the first time in a long time since the opening exchanges of the game really on the front foot. Adam McBurney coming in also.
1 and 3, lads. Sorry, 1 and 3. Here's lads. Yeah, you're coming on. Off you go.
And straight into the action.
Substitution number 17, Jeremy Lockman. Number 18,
For
Stephen
McBurney.
Archer. Replace number 1, James Cronin, and number 3, John Ryan.
A couple of fresh props from a Munster point of view, as James Cronin and John Ryan are called ashore. Stephen Archer and
Here, lads.
Jeremy Lockman coming in.
Munster substitution number 20, Jack O'Donoghue, replaces number 7, Chris Clute.
Chris Clute is off for Jack O'Donoghue in the Munster back row as well.
Okay. Yes, back on your first man, lads. Back on your first man. Back on your first man. I don't know if I made myself clear, lads. That's the mark, and you get back on your first one. Oh, stop.
So McBurney. Same routine from where the previous try came, hitting Carter. And now McBurney has it. Munster's maul defence was pretty good there. Is there a hole for Marshall to try and exploit in midfield there? Now Cooney. They go again. Hitting up those big targets, those one-out runners right in front of the Munster posts now. Can Ulster fashion a second try in relatively quick succession from this kind of field position? Half a dozen phases. They go again with Curtis, and he makes a few yards on that occasion. Oh, it was ripped clear though by Lockman, I think. Knock on is the decision from Frank Murphy.
Yeah, Ulster, it stemmed from a good maul. They got good momentum there, good go forward, and Munster had to commit a few numbers to it, and then Ulster released it, and just one-off runners around the corner, but Munster matched up and physically fronted up on a few occasions there, and came up with the big tackle to spill the ball. And Curtis again, some good footwork on the outside from the young man, but Munster holding tight at the end.
And neither team has actually showed us really impressive multi-phase yet. I use the word yet because I'm hoping to see some coming soon, but and that was indicative of it again there. Ulster looked dangerous to them all. You could see what they were trying to do, but just couldn't get that speed of ball they were looking for.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Stander. Jordy Murphy with a tackle.
No.
There's that left boot of Scannell again, bringing Munster almost up to halfway. That's been an important weapon tonight, both in attack and in defensive situations like this.
Yeah, great exit. I suppose they've used Albie Matheson a few times and haven't got the reward and the distance, and they've gifted Ulster a few good opportunities to attack in and around that 22, but again that left foot from Scannell has been so impressive.
Number 19, Kieran Treadwell. Munster substitution, number 9, Albie Matheson, replaced by number 21, Conor Murray.
So Conor Murray is coming in for Munster. Kieran Treadwell and Eric O'Sullivan, by the way, are in for Ulster. Here's Stuart McCluskey. Curtis. Marshall. Faddis now hits the line at pace. Not held. Cooney goes again, and they switch it from O'Sullivan into Carter. Oh, that's been pinched by CJ Stander on the crowd. They were very close to that down below. It's not happy at all. They felt Stander was on his feet and legal. Frank Murphy said otherwise. Ulster penalty.
I think he had actually just gone to ground and gathered when he was on the ground, so I think Frank Murphy was correct on that occasion.
Again, it's another big call at a big time in the game. Big moment this for John Cooney, if he can just manage to nudge Ulster in front. Asks a big question of this Munster side.
And we saw a lovely tip on there from Eric O'Sullivan, I think it was, and that's something that's Ulster at their best. That's how Ulster like to play. For them, it's about Dan McFarland, Dan Silver, Dwayne Peel. They want to move the ball, they want to tip on. They know if it turns into an arm wrestle, it's not their strength. We saw Marty Moore making a line break earlier in the game from one, so that's what they try to do.
Oh, he struck that superbly. Really good off the kicking tee from Cooney. Brilliantly done. Wonderful execution. Ulster back in front here.
Makes the score Munster 15, Ulster 16.
Yeah, he really is controlling things for Ulster and dictating how they play with his box kicking. The way he brings the forwards onto the game, but also again from the tee, he is phenomenal. And with his success rate at the moment, he's put Ulster in the lead. And
top point scorer in the competition a couple of seasons ago. He's been very effective tonight. Conor Murray will get the call from his fullback here, coming from a long way out. Another good take.
Ball's available.
And there it is for Conor Murray to Finan Wycherley. On the Ulster 10-metre line. They go to the blind side and Coombs. Slow ball for Murray. Shipped on by Holland. To Scannell. Stander had to just his feet to take that and took it quite high. Here's Blendal. Oh, he thought he spotted a little bit of a gap. That door was shut pretty firmly by Nick Timoney. Scannell running into McCluskey. Murray now to Wycherley again. Healy now just probing, asking the question of Stockdale. Conway on the chase. Munster line out.
Line out's formed anyway. Just give it back up, that's all. Just give it back.
Was almost cursing Mike Haley there, but it turned out to be a very good kick in the end. Really well weighted. Now they're in really good attacking position, and really impressed actually with Mike Haley. He's stepped up. He's been first receiver on different occasions. They're working both sides of the ruck and challenging Ulster. It takes away that line speed and that open side, and when you're varying your play like that, it makes it very difficult to come hard and really quickly off the line.
The hooker's on the mark.
Yeah, when Munster are coming off a sideline, quite often you see traditionally Munster same way team, outworking teams going the same way. Tonight we've seen them come back to that blind side quite a lot, and they've done it very effectively there.
And that's a very effective piece of work from Scannell and O'Mahony. Progress, if any, is slow. They'll have to move it to Scannell and Blendal. Oh, yeah. Gilt-edged opportunity. It was looking promising from a Munster point of view, and that's tonight's game in a snapshot. Anytime you think that there's a little bit of fluidity or continuity, it's contagious as well, isn't it? Ulster penalty just inside the Munster half of the pitch. I seem convinced there had to be a knock on there somewhere, but...
Better. Not in that manner again, okay? That was my decision. Back you go.
Coombs in open country out to his left-hand side. There was Ulster cover there, but it looked promising for a moment.
Looked promising again, and it was a pass that Haley probably should have taken.
Just where the ball is.
These conditions again, you know, greasy ball that looked like a knock on there. Munster probably lucky to get away with it, but again, the
down to 22, yeah.
holding on in the end and just not resourcing those wide breakdowns. And Cooney with his boot, and who's to say now he's not going to increase Ulster's lead another 3 points.
Just having a look behind the posts away to our right-hand side. The flags are, there's no movement whatsoever. So while it was squally and showery and quite breezy just before kickoff, it's flat calm now this evening. On the angle, there's a lot in this. It will take a perfect connection, and he doesn't quite have the distance. Conway tidies up for Munster. That's a very good kick.
Disappointing for Ulster to see that ball bounce, you know. You'd think that there's a good chance, it's a monster kick for John Cooney. There's a good chance the ball is going to be short. You think Ulster would have had the preparation, had the thought to think if this falls short, there's going to be a kick to either side. So you know, I'm sure Adam McBurney and the rest of Ulster pack won't thank the Ulster backfield for this line out.
He's done well in that regard tonight, Sam Carter.
Right to ground. Play away, please.
Money's played 100 times plus in Super Rugby. 6 or 7 seasons at the Brumbies. Real fight for it on the floor. Taken on by Eric O'Sullivan. 62 minutes into the game. Ulster leading by a point at Thomond Park, somewhere where they've not won for over 5 years. Remember, May of 2014, I think it was. They won by 19 points to 17. Stockdale underneath this one. Conway too. I think it was almost one-handed from Jacob Stockdale right in front of us. Managed to gather that. O'Sullivan. He's made a good impression since he's come in. Now Curtis. Oh, that's loose again. It's Wycherley and Holland quick off the defensive line from Munster, but again it's sloppy hands.
we've seen moments from Ulster at set piece. They've been quite accurate for the most part. The forwards have carried well. They've been really, really aggressive, and just on the ball, just tried to transfer outside 12, 13. They struggled to get it to the width, and I don't think we've seen Stockdale with the ball in his hands in the game so far, and it's
18 for me, please.
It's a worry, I suppose, from an Ulster point of view, Darren. Considering they're a side that they like to play with a bit of width, and like you said, the front row's offloading and like to spread teams around the field.
So Conor Murray feeds this Munster scrummage.
Both down together.
2 front rows have gone down, no penalty coming. That's what Munster were playing for and appealing for. Blendall now to Healy. Again, just puts on that little bit of footwork, asking the question of McCluskey. Scannell, oh, that's a little bit risky, but it finds Holland. Scannell again, standing in that first receiver position. They funnel it on to Scannell from Farrell. Haven't seen too much from Farrell in terms of his carrying, but he does have a good pass, as he demonstrated there, to get it back into Holland once again. Munster trundling their way over halfway. Oh, back inside to Conway from Blendall. Conway's away. That's the other place to go all the way. Oh, that's fantastic. Andrew Conway lights up Thomond Park in Limerick. There has been precious little to cheer tonight in this arm wrestle of a game between the interprovincial rivals. Well, that's a moment of real brilliance from the Ireland winger, carrying on the kind of form he showed in Japan back home to Limerick.
Oh, brilliant from Conway. We haven't seen much from him in the game so far, and that form, like you spoke about in the World Cup, just sniffing around that breakdown, that inside ball from Blendall, and that pace and that power to get through the tackle. Conway outstanding in under the post. 7-pointer from Munster, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, had a phenomenal World Cup, didn't he? He's had a great couple of seasons, and I always wonder, Joe Schmidt must have had a couple of really tough conversations with him about how he wasn't selected for a few of those games, and how sharp did he look there. As Peter said, it was just a simple inside ball, and it looked like Ulster had the cover, but just that swerve and that acceleration away, and a lovely finish.
Try for Munster, scored by Andrew Conway. Converted by Tyler Blendall.
First time we've seen him really in the game with any kind of space, and the acceleration, the sharpness, and then the composure to get it done under pressure from Stockdale. That's a big, big moment in the game. You often hear him referred to as the much underrated Andrew Conway. Well, I'll tell you what, he's not underrated in any respect around Thomond Park in Limerick. They absolutely love him because he gives such a shift every time he pulls on the jersey. He's so good.
There you go.
Yeah, like you said, in attack and defence, and his work rate off the ball. He's all right. He's coming in off his wing there, midfield ruck, and his kicking chase. It's phenomenal. From a kick off as well, that pace and just that work rate, that energy to get on the ball.
You probably saw Arno Bota, by the way, has come in for CJ Stander. Munster now 1 try shy of the bonus point, but Ulster still very much within striking distance. Matthew Ray into the Ulster back row for Jordy Murphy. Cooney to Curtis.
Tackle release.
Matthew Ray straight into the action. Well, that's a little bit loose and tricky for Cooney. Healy.
Everyone stood their ground.
Nobody home from an Ulster point of view, and Healy, has he executed that? Cooney, under a little bit of pressure, he improvised brilliantly. Loose to Farrell. Well, 67 minutes in, and you just get the feeling this game might open up for the last 10 or so. Scannell now. Farrell, faced by Marshall.
Off feet, release, off feet. This man. Not you, the other man.
Murray. Into Arno Bota. Conor Murray status underneath this one. Hand was in there from Conway. He's knocked it on, so it's a knock-on advantage as Cooney takes a circuitous route to get outside of his 22.
Advantage over.
And with the kick, advantage for the knock-on is over.
Did well in the end, Cooney there. It was risky business running across the pitch like that. For the youngsters watching at home, that's not to do.
White.
But he did well. Great kick.
Make sure they get on you now. They don't go forward from here, okay? I can't set the gap unless you do that for me.
Graham Roytree and Stephen Larkin, of course, the new faces. Graham Roytree not really embedded into the system just yet. It's probably too early for him to have too much of a fingerprint on things.
Good. 9.
Wycherley is the target.
That's once 9. Nine, twice. Use it now, please.
Plenty of height on that. That's a really good take from Rob Little. Did superbly. Diminutive winger climbing high there to gather that two-handed. And you've just conceded a try a few moments ago. You find yourself midway between the 10-metre line and your own 22. You can't afford little errors like that.
2 red.
Just a simple error, really. And also, there's no need to panic. I think you look at the clock and there's 10 minutes and there's 6 points in the game. And I think they just got to work with Cooney and obviously Curtis at 10 and finding that field position and not trying to play from within your own half. It hasn't really worked for them in the game so far. Just keep doing what they've been doing well. A real shift in momentum now at Munster after that try. Heads are up and you can get a real sense that there's a real spring in their step. Farrell getting his hands on the ball more often, and Haley as well in these wider channels.
Don't keep chasing them
I
out.
do really feel like things have changed after that try, as you say. It's turned from Munster looking a bit nervous and Ulster, are they going to hang on to Munster now chasing a bonus point? And, you know, an error like that and the dynamic changes again and the momentum, as you spoke about, Peter.
Crouch!
Rob Little's high take was his last involvement of the evening. Robert Balakoon, meantime, has come in for his first piece of action for the season. Now, Conor Murray, can Munster see this out with another try? Real tight corridor in midfield. Farrell, he's got precious little change out of this Ulster defence so far. Murray now to inject a little bit of pace, perhaps. There is that man, Farrell, again. He's seen more of it now in the latter stages of this game. No, that's better now. Murray from Holland.
All backwards.
Again, there's a huge amount of traffic there. There's this man Conway again. If anybody can wriggle free, he certainly can, as he's already demonstrated to potentially match-winning effect. A penalty in this kind of position now for Munster surely would seal it. Ulster have to be very careful. Under fairly relentless pressure. Blendell, Murray again now, Bota.
Not on the ball, leave it now, you weren't on the ball.
Heading towards double figures in terms of the phase play in this Ulster 22. Now have they prized an opening? Oh, it's an Ulster penalty. You can hear the cries of release back there, and they get the penalty.
He stayed on it.
Maybe they're not done yet, this Ulster team.
Yeah, you see Adam McBurney, when he gets locked in that jackal position, he's very, very strong, very low centre of gravity, gets in there, very, very hard to shift. And, you know, Ulster's still in this game. It's a long way for them to go, but John Cooney would have been hoping for a better kick than that. It's interesting to see what Ulster are going to do from this line out, because, as Peter said, they don't want to start chasing this game too much. It's only a score. So, you know, do you play? You're still, it's a wet night. You're 80 metres away from the try line. Or do you go to the box kick, which is where we've got a little change from tonight?
Stay Munster! Ulster!
So McBurney seeks and finds Sam Carter. 6'6" tall Australian.
That's white to ground. No, he's not.
Cooney's box kick. Really good from Coombs, really good. Eyes only for the ball, got up early, took that decisively. 74 minutes in and Munster have the ball back in the Ulster half of the field. They lead by 6 points. Andrew Conway's try looks to be decisive at this point. Flat back inside to Conor Murray from Kevin O'Byrne. Taken on now by Archer. Lockman there in support. Conor Murray to O'Mahony to Wycherley. Little over 5 minutes remaining. They're looking pretty ominous here.
Crossing.
Well, they were in position, they were set fair, and then it's just a breakdown again in that attacking formation. That
20 lads crossing, 20.
It's just that cohesion again. I think, you know, you're looking at players not knowing their roles. Was the end of the game as well. Guys are fatigued and not running the correct lines, and timing's a bit off. And it's just, again, another little error that Munster won't be pleased with.
It's a correct decision from Frank Murphy, but I always think it should be in the laws at scrum. It's positive play. I don't think you should be punishing that with a penalty, but not Frank Murphy's fault.
Fine, we'll go with that.
So is there something left in the tank here from an Ulster point of view? They'll have to cut out the errors, though. Angus Curtis is set upon by Rory Scannell, who's had an excellent match in that inside centre role for Munster tonight. Cooney, who's got through a monstrous amount of work. You wonder, Ulster in this position, remember, without the likes of Billy Burns and Marcel Coetzee, Will Addison, who went off injured last week against Zebre. They've had to cope without some very important players, and they've got very close to Munster here, but Munster going to get the advantage there. And there's the penalty, and that might just be that.
That's decision, please.
Ulster were so keen to get Peter O'Mahony out of that breakdown that they missed the scrum half. Big threat over the ball in the famous red number 9 jersey, Peter.
Well, this, just to see Munster home, you feel difficult on the angle for Blayendal. Led by 15 points to 6 at half-time. They then fell behind 16-15 through that Rob Herring try and a couple of kicks from Cooney. And following Andrew Conway's try and the conversion, this would seal it for Munster. Well, has it got enough? That's very close. It's not going to go Blayendal or Munster's way on that occasion. Just didn't have enough. But the clock very much against Ulster here. We're in the 78th minute of the 80. And Conor Murray is there. There's one or two Ulster players potentially offside, it seemed there at least. Taken on by Lockman. Munster finishing the game in the ascendancy and very strongly. Galvanised by that Conway try. Blayendal, oh, McCluskey got his hands. How did he manage to hold on to that? He was almost through the gap. Munster hand in there as the offload came. It's been knocked on and kicked down by Rory Scannell. What a turn up for the books that would have been. Hearts and mouth times from a Munster point of view, and so nearly from McCluskey.
What a tackle from Scanlon McCluskey there. He's away. Great interception, great tackle, and a great offload to Treadwell. Treadwell probably better just to hold on and recycle that ball.
That was vitally important from Scanlon again.
And that probably, for me, sums up Ulster's whole attack. When the line-out went well, the delivery was poor. It's been John Cooney had a great game for Ulster, but it's been a frustrating night for the Nines.
Okay, a little bit of a break in play, and you boys have been having a little bit of a think. So who's the Guinness Pro 14 man of the match tonight then, Peter?
Yeah, look, in a game there hasn't probably been really many exceptional performances. I think John Cooney's been very good from an Ulster perspective. CJ Stander carried very well, but I think that last tackle there from that man there, Rory Scannell, just summed up his game. I think his kicking game, a guy who was left out of the Irish squad kind of before the World Cup and has a big point to prove in these interprovincial games, and defensively and attack-wise, just controlled things very well from Munster, took pressure off the 10s and stepped in first receiver when he needed to and cleared those lines, and for that reason he's the man of the match today.
So Rory Scannell is the Guinness man of the match.
That's just two of you. Let's stay positive, okay?
Yeah, dispatched from the Ireland squad before he even got a look at the warm-up games. Always disappointing. So in fact, two to John Cooney, of course, but that's the ruthless nature of cutting the squad down to the requisite number.
Crouch!
It's going to be yet another home win for Munster at Thomond Park. That run continues.
Stop.
All the way back to the Christmas fixtures against Leinster in 2017. Orna Bota drives on.
Thank you.
Ulster have been here and drawn since then, but it's going to be another victory for Munster, and it's been dispatched into the Thomond Park stands by Tyler Blandall. And Munster do enough in the end to see off their interprovincial rivals once again. Nothing like the game we had 12 months ago here. Much closer, a real arm wrestle of a game, a rather ugly game at times, punctuated by a moment of real brilliance and beauty by Andrew Conway, who dotted down for Munster's third try of the evening, and that ultimately sealed the victory for Johan van Graan's side. Munster find a way to win with all the changes, with all the internationals coming back. And it was two of them who scored three of the tries, CJ Stander and Andrew Conway, as Munster beat Ulster at Thomond Park by 22 points to 16. So it's Munster who will have that little bit of momentum into the European game next week. They go away to Swansea to take on the Ospreys, and then they will back here against French opposition. Simon Zeeble returning to Thomond Park in Limerick with Racing 92. Ulster will go away to Bath, and then they'll be at home at Ravenhill against Claremont for their second game in the Champions Cup. Well, it was a tough watch at times, and both sides with a lot of work-ons ahead of next week, but that Conway try made up for it in the end. Well, let's hear from the man of the match, Rory Scannell, who's standing by, I believe, with Maz.
Rory Scannell, you today's Guinness man of the match. Here to present your award from Guinness is Ken O'Dea. Rory, difficult conditions here today. Always a tough battle against Ulster, but you came away with a win.
Yeah, they're a physical side, and you know, it's always a tough game when you're playing Ulster. You know, it was pretty tight in the end. We were probably lucky. Stu nearly got away there at the end to go the length, so you know, plenty to work on. Penalty count was probably a bit too high, but when we played in the right areas, we created opportunities for Andrew, and he finished that try incredibly well, so we're happy with the win.
What do you think was some of the key battles there today with the major turning points?
The set piece, you know, a few scrum penalties either way, so that was an interesting battle. The maul as well, you know, they're always a tough opposition there, so when we got good go forward ball, I think the backs had some good strikes, and you know, plenty to work on, but we'll take the win.
Coming down to your own individual performance, a key tackle there at the end, it could have been a different story. Did you come into this game with a point to prove?
Yeah, I'm trying to prove a point every week, you know, keep knocking on the door, and every time I get an opportunity, you know, I give it my all, so you know, just happy we got to win tonight.
Congratulations, well done.